Lexi sat on her bed and stared at her phone until her eyes felt kind of itchy. The screen was dark, but she kept hoping it would light up with a text from her best friend, Sarah. They used to talk every single day about everything, like what they ate for lunch or which guys at the gym were being weird. But for a whole month, Sarah had been like a ghost. She was not answering calls, and she was not liking any of Lexi's photos. It felt like a big, cold wall had been built between them, and Lexi had no idea why. She went over every talk they had in her head, trying to find a moment where she said something mean or did something dumb, but she came up with nothing. Lexi's heart felt heavy, like she had swallowed a rock. Being ignored was way worse than being yelled at because there was no way to fix it if she didn't know what was wrong. She sent one more text, her thumbs shaking a little. She asked if Sarah was okay and said she missed her. Then she waited. She watched the little dots that show someone is typing, but they never showed up. It was just a blank, gray box. Lexi felt a mix of being sad and being really, really annoyed. Friends are not supposed to just vanish without a word, especially not best friends who knew all your secrets. The next day, Lexi decided she could not just sit around anymore. She felt like a detective in a movie, but without the cool hat. She reached out to Jen, another girl they both hung out with sometimes. Jen was the kind of person who always knew the tea before anyone else did. When Lexi asked if she had seen Sarah, Jen acted kind of weird at first. She sent back a lot of and I don't know texts, but Lexi kept pushing. Finally, Jen spilled the beans. It turned out Sarah was not sick or busy with work. She was mad. She was actually super mad, and she had been telling everyone else about it except for Lexi. According to Jen, Sarah felt betrayed. Lexi nearly dropped her phone when she read that word. Betrayed? That was a word for people who steal money or date their friend's crush. Lexi had done none of those things. Jen explained that Sarah was upset because of a party they went to a few weeks ago. At that party, Lexi had talked to a guy named Mark for a long time. Sarah apparently had a huge crush on Mark, even though she never told Lexi about it. To Sarah, Lexi was flirting and trying to take him, which was totally not true. Lexi just thought Mark was nice, and they were talking about a video game they both liked. Lexi felt a hot flash of anger go through her chest. How was she supposed to know about a secret crush? She wasn't a mind reader. If Sarah had just said, "Hey, I like that guy," Lexi would have walked away and talked to someone else. But instead of using her words like an adult, Sarah chose to go on a silent strike and tell all their other friends that Lexi was a backstabber. Now, whenever Lexi walked into a room, she felt like people were looking at her and whispering. The drama was spreading like a bad smell, and Lexi was stuck in the middle of it without a map. She tried to call Sarah one more time to explain, but it went straight to voicemail. Lexi didn't leave a message this time. She realized that Sarah was enjoying being the victim. Sarah liked the attention she got from telling the sad story of her mean best friend. It made Lexi feel sick to her stomach. She thought about all the times she had stood up for Sarah or helped her when she was crying over other stuff. All that loyalty seemed to mean nothing over a guy that Sarah hadn't even talked to. It was like their whole friendship was made of paper, and Sarah had just lit a match. Lexi spent the rest of the week feeling like she was in a fog. She saw pictures on Instagram of Sarah out with Jen and some other girls. They were all smiling and holding drinks, looking like they were having the best time ever. Lexi felt a sharp sting of jealousy, but also a realization. If those girls were okay with Sarah ghosting her, were they really her friends either? It felt like the whole group was shifting, and Lexi was being pushed out into the cold. She sat in her room and deleted the draft of the long, mushy apology she was going to send. She hadn't done anything wrong, and she was tired of feeling guilty for a crime she didn't commit. The silence from Sarah started to feel less like a sad thing and more like a loud message. The message was, "I don't value you." Lexi started to look back at their friendship with new eyes. She remembered times when Sarah would get grumpy if Lexi got a better grade or a new outfit. Maybe the cracks had been there for a long time, and this thing with Mark was just the thing that finally broke the glass. Lexi realized that a real friend would have pulled her aside and said, "Hey, it hurt my feelings when you talked to him." A real friend wouldn't try to ruin her reputation with everyone they knew. One afternoon, Lexi ran into Mark at a coffee shop. Her heart did a little flip, not because she liked him, but because he was the center of all this mess. Mark waved her over and asked how she was doing. He seemed totally normal and had no idea he was the cause of a friendship breakup. They talked for a few minutes about boring stuff like school and the weather. Lexi realized that Mark wasn't even that into Sarah. He didn't even mention her name. The whole betrayal was something Sarah had made up in her own head, like a story in a book that wasn't real. Lexi felt a weird sense of peace after that. She knew the truth now. She couldn't force Sarah to be a grown-up, and she couldn't make her stop being mad. If Sarah wanted to throw away years of jokes and memories over a boy who didn't even know she liked him, that was her choice. Lexi decided to stop checking her phone every 5 minutes. She went for a walk, bought herself a big ice cream, and started thinking about making new friends who actually liked to talk about their feelings instead of playing games. The drama was still there, buzzing like a fly, but Lexi was done trying to catch it. A few days later, Lexi got a text. It wasn't from Sarah. It was from Jen asking if she wanted to go to the movies. Lexi looked at the screen for a long time. She knew if she went, Sarah would find out and get even more upset. But Lexi was tired of living her life based on what Sarah might think. She typed back, "Sure," and put her phone down. She was done being the girl who waited by the door. If Sarah wanted to come back, she knew where Lexi lived. But Lexi wasn't going to hold her breath anymore, because she had a movie to see and a life to start living again. The final straw came on a Sunday. Leo had planned to meal prep for his whole week. He bought a bunch of chicken and veggies. When he got to the kitchen, the sink was once again full of gross, crusty bowls that had been there for 3 days. There was no room to even wash a carrot. Caleb and Maya were sitting right there, laughing at something on their laptop. Leo didn't say a word. He just took all the dirty dishes out of the sink and piled them up right in front of the TV. He piled them high, like a monument to their laziness. Caleb jumped up, looking like he was ready to explode. "What are you doing? That's gross," he yelled. Leo just looked at him with a flat expression. "I need the sink to cook my food. Since you guys love these dishes so much, I thought you'd want them closer to you." Maya looked like she was going to cry, but Leo didn't care anymore. He went back to the kitchen, cleaned the sink, and started his cooking. He didn't look back once. He realized that sometimes, being nice is just a way to let people walk all over you, and he was done being a doormat. After that, the house was super quiet. No one talked to anyone. Leo stayed in his room most of the time when he wasn't cooking or eating. He started looking for a new place to live because he knew this wasn't going to get better. You can't fix people who don't think they're doing anything wrong. As he packed his first box, he felt a huge weight lift off his shoulders. He was going to miss the big kitchen, but he wasn't going to miss the mountain of dirty plates or the people who expected him to be their servant for free. After that, the house was super quiet. No one talked to anyone. Leo stayed in his room most of the time when he wasn't cooking or eating. He started looking for a new place to live because he knew this wasn't going to get better. You can't fix people who don't think they're doing anything wrong. As he packed his first box, he felt a huge weight lift off his shoulders. He was going to miss the big kitchen, but he wasn't going to miss the mountain of dirty plates or the people who expected him to be their servant for free.